which we announced it, and it's about the concept of negative talking versus positive talking, and negative speech versus positive speech. And the reason I picked this subject is because the two parashot that we're going to read this Shabbat, called Tazria and Metzora, it's all about Lashon Hara, which is negative talking. And it was announced that all the classes, everybody is responsible to talk about this because this is such an important issue, such an important challenge for every human being. And we all know that talking negative is bad. We all know it's nothing new. And we all know it's good to think positive and to speak positively. But I picked up a few complicated, again, some technical point from Ari Agadosh that actually moved me so much, and all day I've been dwelling in it, and I want to share it with you because if I'm good enough to explain this, hopefully it will totally change our life, and we would totally stay away from talking negative. You know, it says in Talmud something really, really harsh. Something really, really harsh. It says, if a person speaks Lashon Hara, negative speaking, and I want to make it clear what is negative speaking. Every time you talk negative about somebody, right or wrong, and tonight we understand, it's considered Lashon Hara, and it's forbidden. And it says in the Talmud that if someone makes this a habit, there is no way that they will receive the life force. They will totally immerse in the dark force. There is no hope for someone who speaks Lashon Hara. And then it quotes a verse from David HaMelech, King David, who says, when someone speaks Lashon Hara, it will be cut off from the light force of God. Imagine how scary it is. They actually put it in a harsher sentence that I just said. They say even if for once you say one Lashon Hara, you'll be disconnected from the light force. You'll be disconnected from God. God forbid. And it's so difficult to fix it. It's one of the most difficult things to fix. That's Lashon Hara. Then Ari Agadosh comes in and talks about this phenomenon. First of all, Ari comes and explains the process of death, dying. We know that when a soul leaves a body, we die. So every time we have a physical body, and then we have our soul, which resides in the body. And as long that our body and our soul are together, they have yichud, they have unity, and the body follows the desire of the soul, then you're connected to the life force, because the soul knows what is the right thing to do, what is my responsibility, what is my tikkun, what is my correction, and wants to stay with the life force. But every time the body takes over and the role of the soul becomes less, we get closer to death. And we know when the soul totally disconnects itself from the body dies. Ari says that every time the soul leaves the body or starts to separate from the body, he uses this metaphor that the angel of death has this sword. It's just a metaphor. And with that sword, he drops 3 bloods of negativity into the body, and those drops of negative blood causes the body to die. I know it's scary, but let me expand it a little bit more. And we know the body of the righteous, they don't decay. They stay intact. Only the body of those who are not righteous start to decay. Why? Because Ari says, as the soul leaves the body, somehow the negative energy penetrates into the physical body and causes the body to decay and to diminish and to get destroyed. And then Ari comes and says, to explain this, he talks about when death becomes a reality in the world. When that became a reality in the world? When Adam and Eve were created in the Garden of Eden, they were supposed to stay with the consciousness of tree of life, and they wouldn't die. If they would stay with the consciousness of tree of life, they would not die. God says, don't use the consciousness, don't use the product of the tree of knowledge, good and bad, because if you use that, you're going to die. And then, what causes the human being to fall into the trap of the tree of knowledge and good and bad? The snake. The snake comes and starts a speech. The snake is the epitome of what death became a reality. The snake comes to Eve and says, why you're not using the tree of good and bad? And Eve says, God says if you use it, you're going to die. And snake says, yeah, I don't think so. Maybe not. She creates doubt. So the snake is the embodiment or the channel that death came about in this world. And Ari says, every time that we speak negative, please pay attention. This is scary and it's unbelievably powerful. Every time you speak negative, you connect yourself to the snake, to the energy of death. Every time we speak, a part of that drop, the drop of the sword of the angel of death injects itself into our body. Is this scary or what? Does it make sense? Every time, because the snake was the first source that created death, and every time I speak negativity, I connect myself to the first drop of the energy that created death, and that's why I bring death, Has v'shalom, to myself. In other words, speaking negativity totally disconnects us from the light force of God. Every time I speak negativity. Now, Ari comes and wants to expand on this. There is a concept in Kabbalah called Magid. Ari explains that every time I do good things, I pray, I do mitzvah, I do good deeds, we create angel. We create angels. Every time you study Torah, you study Kabbalah, you study Tehillim, you do good things, you give mitzvah, you give sadaqah, you do mitzvah, you give sadaqah. Every time you do good things, every time you do positive things, you create angels. You create angels. And these angels will come to help you at the time of need. Now, there is a written document about Rabbi Yossi Karo. He's one of the students of the Ari Agadosh in Sfat. He has this experience and he writes it down about the connection that he has with his Magid, with his angel that he created. Rabbi Yossi Karo is a righteous person that has created this Magid, this angel that comes to help him. And then imagine this angel comes to Rabbi Yossi and tells him, I know that you're suffering from people who are talking negative about you. Apparently there were some people who were against Rabbi Yosef Karo. Tells them, I know these people are talking negative about you, but don't you worry a bit. Don't you worry a bit. This angel tells Rabbi Yosef Karo that whoever speaks negative about you, every time he speaks negative about you, what did we said? We said when I speak negative, I bring about darkness into myself, and every time I bring a darkness, the death, Has v'shalom, to myself, that negative force, that drop of that intelligence force comes to my body. What happens? It needs a space in my body, so I lose some part of my light. Some part of my light comes out, so it creates room for that sparks of darkness that wants to come into my life. If I'm intact, if I'm full of light, no negativity can come in. But once I speak negative, I open up the space, that part of the light that is within me comes out, the darkness takes over. This angel, this Magid tells Rabbi Yosef, the people who are talking negative about you, as they are talking negative, they're losing their light. They're losing their light, and that light actually comes to you, and their negativity, the negativity of those people, would come back to them. You understand? In a simple terms, if I speak bad about Amir Jun, can I use you as an example? No. If I talk negative about Has v'shalom Amir, when I start talking negative, I lose the light that is within me. It comes out. I bring some negativity in me. And this light, because I'm talking negative about Amir, what Amir would receive is the light that was within me, part of my light. Amir does not receive any negativity from me talking negative. He actually receives my light, my positive light. And when I empty that positive light that is within me, what takes over? Has v'shalom, the angel of death. The negative part. And what is so scary is, Ari explains that there are 3 realms. We have 5 olamot. And 3 of these olamot, which is called Biriya, Yitzira, Asiya, which is Biriya, which is Bina, Yitzira, which is Zeir and Pin, and Malchut. One of them, the word of Asiya, is a word of action. Everything that we do is considered a word of Asiya. Every time that we talk, it's a word of Yitzira, it's a word of formation, like the book of formation. And the word of Biriya is the word of thought. Ari explains that in these 3 realms, these 3 reality, there is good and bad. There is always purity, kedusha, and tuma. Everything that exists within our thought, within our speech, and within our action, there is always positivity and negativity. There is always kedusha, and has v'shalom, there is always tuma. I can either speak positive or I speak negative. My mouth can do both, right? I can do either positive action or negative action. I could either think positive or think negative. These two energies, these two parallel universes exist within us, exist within everybody. Even the most righteous person in the world, he is not all Kedusha. There are some part of negativity within that righteous person too. It might be less negativity, more positivity, but there is always these two realms of positivity and negativity exist in everything. Now, if I look at Amir, and Amir is 80% Kedusha, but he has 20% Chas v'Shalom negativity. When I talk about the negativity that exists within Chas v'Shalom Amir, that 20%, what do? I bring that 20% of the negativity of Amir to myself, and from whatever positivity that I have in me, I'll give it back to Amir. There is a story in Torah about these two sorcerers, Bil'am and Balak and Bil'am, that they want to, Balak ask Bil'am to come and say negative things to the Israelite, to destroy Israelite, to curse. And when he opens his mouth, it becomes a blessing. So what Ari is teaching us, that every time I talk negative about that person, all I'm doing, I'm destroying myself. Because first of all, I'm giving up my light, and I'm filling it up with the negativity that I'm talking about that person. It will come back to me. The negativity will come back to me, and my light will go to that person. So this angel, this Magid, tells Rabbi Yosef, don't you worry about these people that they are talking negative about you. Not at all. You're actually receiving all the lights that they have. I wouldn't worry about people talking negative about you. It's actually a blessing, because once they're opening their mouth and they're cursing you, Chas v'Shalom, or they're saying negative about you, you're receiving their light, and they're receiving your light, and you're receiving their negative force. Let me make it a little bit more clear. I used the example of Amir. I'm going to continue. Amir is my buddy. Let's say Amir has some flaws. Let's say Amir has jealousy in him. Okay? He's all good, but he has a little bit of jealousy. Now I sit down with my good friend Farah Mars, and I tell Farah Mars, you know what? Amir is wonderful. He's good-hearted. He's this, he's that. But you know, he has a little bit of jealousy. The moment I say that, the negative thing about Amir, what happens? I lose part of my light, comes out, goes to Amir, and you know what I receive back? The jealousy that it was in Amir, it would come back, it would come to me.
Even though you are right.
Even though I'm right.
Wow.
Even though I'm right.
Very powerful.
So every time you connect to somebody's lack, they say the energy, the negative energy, the Satan, always goes to where there is lack. And it needs a space. The dark force doesn't have a room, doesn't have identity. It needs some lack, some space to manifest itself. We know darkness doesn't exist. Even in science we understand darkness doesn't exist. It's the lack of light that creates darkness. To darkness, the only way that darkness can have energy is a place. It's some space. He wants some space. So all this darkness, they go and they hide, or they attach themselves, as Ari explains, to wherever people have lack. Let's say I have a lack of control. This is part of my tikkun, right? Scorpio has tikkun problems, control problems. It's my tikkun. Now, if somebody who loves me, my friend, or who doesn't love me, goes and talks behind me, that Nader has control issues. When they do that, they're doing me a favor. Why? Because I don't receive the negative part of it. I receive the energy to help with my tikkun of control, and my tikkun of control will go to those who are accusing me, right or wrong. This is the scary part. Right or wrong, they'll receive that lack. Because that lack, the darkness, needs a space. By me opening my mouth, I create that space.
Big problem.
You acknowledge it, right?
You acknowledge it. Once you acknowledge it, it becomes a space. It becomes a vessel for it. And it comes back to
So
you.
it make you more strong.
So if people talk bad behind you, from now on, don't worry. They're doing you a favor. They're drawing your negative energy. They're helping you out. These Magid, these angels tell Rabbi Yosef, don't worry a bit. You're actually receiving all the light that they had. I remember Rabbi Berg. You know, we know throughout the history that all the Kabbalists had enemies. All the Kabbalists, they had enemies. Even Moshe Rabbeinu had enemies. Even they talk behind Moshe Rabbeinu.
Oh yeah.
They talk bad about Rabbi Ashlag. They broke his head in Yerushalayim with stone. They throw a stone at him. They broke Rabbi Berg's hand in Israel. So all the Kabbalists, they had problem. I remember every time somebody would say negative about Rabbi Berg, he would say, oh, good. And I would say, what do you mean, oh, good? Rav, they wrote a bad article about you. Or they say something bad about you. He goes, then I'm doing something right. First of all, I'm doing something right. If I wasn't doing something wrong, they wouldn't attack me. And if they attack me, it's good for me. Because they're going to receive whatever negativity that I have, and I'm receiving whatever light they have. Now, on the good notes, now that I scared you enough about speaking negative, Ari comes and says something amazing. You know, we know that when Miriam got sick, Moshe recited the blessing and Miriam became healed. But chances are, if somebody asks me to say a blessing for somebody, and if I say blessing, I may not have the same influence as Moshe Rabbeinu. Why? Why? Why Moshe would say El Narifan Allah and Miriam becomes totally healed? But if I say El Narifan Allah for someone who's asking me to say a prayer for healing, it's not that powerful. And then they say, if the whole congregation pray for somebody, it's more powerful. So if I only pray, if somebody is sick and comes to me and says, you know, pray for me. If I pray individually, I may help him a little bit. But if I come to Kenisa and tell everybody, such a person needs energy of healing, and everybody prays, it becomes more powerful. What's going on? Why can't I be as powerful as Moshe? Can I be as powerful as Moshe? What was so special about Moshe?
Righteous.
Moshe never spoke Lashon Hara. Never spoke Lashon Hara. That means he had all the lights in him. He was full of light. So when he spoke Kadosh, and what came out of his mouth was all energy force, light force. So the frequency of Moshe's speech is way more higher than someone else. When people need the blessing, they go to a righteous person. Why they go to a righteous person? Because this righteous person, they control their mouth. They control it. They only speak kadosh. They only speak holy. So they reserve all the lights that is within them. So when they say something, it comes from this source of light that is within their soul and their body. But when we pray, when I pray, I may have 1,000th of a level of what Moshe had. But if 1,000 people gather together and pray together, then a spark of each person, it becomes as equivalent as Moshe Rabbeinu or someone's righteous. That's why a prayer of a congregation, a Knesset, is more powerful than one individual person. But then again, Ari explains, the more you use your Kadosh language, the more you pray, the more you use this tongue, this peh, the power of mouth, to speak more Kadosh, more holy, what you do, every time you do, you bring more light to yourself. Because when you say Kadosh, you bring more holiness to yourself. You become more powerful, more powerful. And the more you pray, the more powerful you become. The parasha of Metzorah and Tazriah is always right after Pesach. Pesach. That means to speak. Torah is telling us that in Pesach we get the power, this extra energy that we talk about, the power to change things. But immediately Torah tells us to be careful. Use it properly. Don't destroy that is energy that is within you. Use it for constructive, for holiness, for positivity. So there are 2 points that I want to review again. Every time we say negative, we connect to the energy of death, has v'shalom. Death. Is that scary? We come closer to death, God forbid. And every time we say something negative about somebody else, we bring the negativity of that person to ourselves. We transfer our good to them. So there are 2 things. First of all, I want to control my lashon, my language, not to speak negativity. And if somebody speaks bad behind you, be happy. Be happy. Because you're actually receiving blessing from them. Unless you react to it. Unless you react to it, then you become vulnerable. Then you become reactive. If I hear that somebody says, no, there is this and that, and I give it value, then I'm giving value to that Lashon Hara. Or if I'm listening to somebody who's talking Lashon Hara, then I'm giving it more power to that language, to that energy, negative energy. So not only I want to stay away from negative talk, I want to stay away from listening to nonsense too. Every time you found yourself among people who love to talk Lashon Hara, just leave. Just leave. You don't want to magnify it, you don't want to listen to it, you don't want to let it penetrate. Stay away. It's a hospitable energy of death. Thank you.